Hey guys, welcome to the Nerd News Desk. Hopefully we have sound. Do we have sound? I'm really hoping sound is coming through on this. A couple days ago, when I was talking about new comics coming out this week, I told you that Superman and I thought Supergirl were both getting their replacement copies this week. As it turns out, Supergirl has been pushed back another week, so it'll be coming out on the 4th. But assuming sound is coming through and everything's okay here, I want to take a look at...
Hey guys.
We have sound. Okay, good. I want to make sure that everything was working right before we get into this, because I found out that they actually did change something on the inside of Superman 14. 14. And I didn't notice this the other night. When I first got the book, I kind of flipped through it. I go, well, everything looks pretty much the same, but it didn't really look all that different to me. So then I took a closer look, and I realized that there is more than just the new covers. So take a look right here. We can see here's the new cover. This is the old cover. This is the one that was pulped. And it's got the year of the villain on it. The last temptation of Lois. There's Lex Luthor apparently tempting Lois with something. And to be fair, none of this actually happens. There's some sort of explosion. I don't know what that is. But yeah, nothing in this issue has anything to do with Lex giving some sort of gift to Lois to become a villain or anything like this. Now this cover, which shows we got Krypto, we got Superboy, we got Supergirl, Superman, and Zod, and there's Rhaegar Zol, the guy who apparently actually destroyed Krypton in the new Bendis continuity. Now this is more like the story that's in there. It's not exactly, but I mean that's what comic covers do, right? They give you kind of a hint of the story, but it's not always 100% of what's actually happening. So I flipped through them real quick, just kind of side by side. Didn't really notice anything until today. So today, I happened to be, going through them and looking a little more closely because something when I read the new copy, something stuck out in my mind. Like, wait a minute, that looks a little different. And as it turns out, there is one key difference in the inside of the book. So if we go back over here, we start with this copy. This is the pulped copy, the copy that doesn't technically exist anymore. And you see here, there's the Legion of Superheroes logo. They're doing this Bendis guided Legion of Superheroes introduction. And if we go to where the Legion shows up here, I'm trying not to... I don't want to give away the whole book or anything like that, but... Okay, here is the introduction of the new Legion of Superheroes. And I looked at that and go, wow, there's a lot of characters and a lot of artwork, and they've changed a lot of the characters. They gave them, modern haircuts, which I don't particularly like. I don't know why, but Cosmic Boy, he looks like he's 50 years old there instead of being a teenager, because the way they have his head shaved, it makes him look like he's a lot older. And I've never cared for the shaved head look on women's hairstyles. If that's the hair you have, great. If you love it, fantastic. Anyway, so I'm looking at this and I go, that's a lot of characters, and something about that page looks different. So if we go to the new copy and we compare, first of all, you can see there's a little bit of a coloration difference on John and Clark. You can see that Superboy and Superman, they're a little lighter skin toned, which I thought was okay. Well, that's kind of interesting. And then we look at the other page, and we look at Lightning Lad, and, well, look at that. That's, you seen that? That's, wow, that's a big color difference there. They really didn't like how light, I guess, he looked there. And so they lightened up Clark and John over here to make them pinker and more Caucasian. And then you can see Lightning Lad, they really decided they wanted him to be dark. Now, I want to be clear here. I want to be 100% clear. I'm not passing judgment on this decision to change Lightning Lad. That's not the point of this video. That's not what I'm trying to say. That's not why we're here today. My confusion about the Legion of Superheroes and some of these changes is the fact that we've already seen the Legion of Superheroes in the New 52. When the New 52 launched, we had a Legion, and we had the Legion Lost, where it was Legion of Superheroes characters in the modern era that couldn't get back to the future because of the change in the timeline. And somehow that worked into whatever. And the books didn't sell real well and whatever. And we've seen Saturn Girl, the original Saturn Girl, show up in Doomsday Clock, which makes me think that something in Doomsday Clock is going to mess with the timeline. And some of these subtle shifts that we're seeing throughout the DC universe that don't make up a lot of sense are because the timeline shift was supposed to already have happened. So now we look at the Legion of Superheroes and we go, well, that's wrong, because we've seen the Legion of Superheroes, but maybe that's because there was supposed to be a change that happened with Doomsday Clock, and it's so delayed, we haven't seen that change. So, yeah, they've changed the race of Lightning Lad and his people, and I mean, it's whatever, right? It's a Legion of Superheroes. You've got tons and tons of characters. You can, switch stuff up a little bit. Kind of like with Krypton, when they did Krypton, they made all the Zods brown skin, I'd say African American, but they were all British actors, so that doesn't really work in that particular case. But yeah, so the change you can see here, it's a lot more than just these new covers. They decided they needed to make more of a bold statement on Lightning Lad. And again, I'm not passing judgment on that. It's just kind of odd to me that the cover didn't match, and instead of catching it in advance and putting a new cover, or even just saying, the cover doesn't really work, but whatever, we're just going to roll with it, they decided that they had to pulp the entire line. They had to destroy every copy that came out, and then they recolored this one page and sent it back out. That's a little odd, a little awkward. Again, not passing judgment. So Febmon says, so a new timeline Lightning Lad? That's what it looks like to me. It looks like whatever happens in, I'm guessing Doomsday Clock, because it's not over. In Doomsday Clock, we see Saturn Girl in the modern time, unconnected to the Legion in the future, thinks she's going crazy or whatever. I have to go back and read that, because it's been so long that series has been coming out. It's been so delayed. But I'm guessing something happens to connect her back to the future, or the timeline resets. Whatever happens with Superman and Dr. Manhattan and Justice Society and all this stuff that's been going on in Doomsday Clock, I guess that somehow sets a new Legion of Superheroes in the future for Bendis to then come and play with. Do they change anyone else in that Legion picture? Not that I can tell. Not that I can tell. I looked through as best I could. Now, Supergirl, in her issue, they do have a spread, and it's done by Kevin Maguire, who is the artist on that book. And so it looks a little different in his, because they didn't reuse the same artwork, they didn't reuse the same spread. But again, if you look here, he's a little more pale. So I'm guessing when this one comes out on September 4th, I believe it is, he's going to look a lot darker in that shot. That's going to be my guess of what's going to happen there. So, for the last time, not passing judgment, just saying, looks like that's what happened. So there you guys go. Looks like the Legion of Superheroes changes actually caused this need to redo the book, even if the covers weren't quite exactly what they needed to be for the storyline. Usually you can just let that go and say whatever, but I guess they really needed to hammer home that Lightning Lad is different. And of course he's probably going to be called something different. Electro dude or something. They're going to call him Livewire. Is that what they? I forget. And when they did the Legionnaires book, where the clone of the Legions all came back, it was something different. I don't know. Mr. America. You think I'm Mr. America, brother? Yeah, that's. I like these masks. I haven't been able to wear them for a long time because of my glasses. So I'm glad I can wear them again. My eyesight's so bad. So anyway, all right, guys, that's gonna do it for me anyway. But thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. If you spot any other differences, like go through the DC. If you're reading any of the other books in the DC universe, go through them and look to see if there's anything else that looks like, because it may be Doomsday Clock, because of timeline changes and shifts, because of whatever, that maybe that's throwing it off. There's word that that's part of why Tom King is being kicked off Batman, because he wants to continue his story with Catwoman and Batman, and so that'll be his separate universe story, continuing that storyline, and the main Batman book is going to follow the events of the timeline shift that I really guess that's what's coming and that's what's happening. So if you guys read any other books from the DC Universe line of books and you see something that stands out like this doesn't seem right, because we've already seen that, or the history is already there, then that's what we need to talk about that and look more into that. Febmon says, I may need to trim my beard. Yeah, I get that. I understand. I'm actually growing up. My sister hates when I have a long beard. Several years ago, I'd let it grow long. It was like a Duck Dynasty thing. Just because, it was one of those things that's like, why not? You can grow it, so just grow it. So I figured, why not? And it got long, and then I cut it. And then my wife was like, oh, I kind of like that beard. And I was like, really? And she was like, yeah. So I'm like, well, all right then. Let's maybe get this thing growing back out again. So we're gonna have a big beard coming down, even though we're wearing these masks. But yeah, that's how it's going. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.